and then we have Python. Okay, and these are two different programming languages. If you individually look at these programming languages, they are not actually the distributed. So because they don't have a processing engine, they are just programming languages. And if you just learn these programming languages and execute on any of the system, and it is going to get what you are looking, but actually they are not actually the distributed, because unless until they are rendered on distributed processing engines, you are not able to get that. So here we have the other programming language called Scala. It is also a programming language, but the Scala is tightly integrated with Spark engine, which is a distributed processing engine which works independently, or it works on Hadoop distributed system. Means it, in other way, Spark can be executed on distributed and also the non-distributed systems. So that is the reason the Spark framework Spark framework engine has becoming very popular in nowadays in the big data world, and everybody now trying to associate with the Spark engine. And also it has the ability to quickly do the data processing transformations wherever it is required. So that is the reason most of the times, like, the people are looking this particular stuff, which was recently in the market. And so this is the reason. So what is there in our plate is that R, Python, Scala with Spark. And also, since this is a very good for the distributed processing with ML, and that is the reason now what I am planning is the complete ML, complete hands-on I am planning to get on Scala with Spark. And at the same time, the Python also now integrated with Spark. So even if you want to execute your Python programs on this Spark, so Python also has integrated with Spark. So that way, first I will focus completely on Spark, Scala with Spark. That is completely for the machine learning purpose. And once we have, anyway, this ML concept theory, everything you will be having separately. That is a common, generic, irrespective of the programming language. So then, from the practical programming oriented point of view, first we'll go with completely very detailed on the Spark Scala. And we have a special module in Spark called Spark ML. That the module is called Spark ML. And then the same Spark ML, whatever modules we have, can also be executed with Python. So once we have completed the very detailed, lengthy execution hands-on on this one, and then I can go through with Python and also R, and so that will be completely packaged with all these things. So depending on the request. So once you have a ML complete theoretical knowledge, and once you have any one of the programming language with the hands-on, so the getting onto other stuff, okay, it is very easy because you will not have much difference over there. So I'll also walk through the Python and R, how we implement the same algorithms in R and then Python. And depending on the requirement, because nowadays nobody talking about a single programming language. Generally people are talking, they will say that Python / Scala or /R, or even if you have a requirement, it is very well understood that like almost algorithms are same in the same programming language. A Python guy can scale up to the Scala, or Scala guy can up to the Python level. So that way you will have a complete backup of all those things. And in addition to this, you will have a little bit of NLP, natural language processing concept. It is not actually the data, not comes under data science, but most of the times data science input data processing, nowadays we are looking on the NLP, natural language processing. So we will also have a walkthrough on NLP. And also nowadays, like earlier we were using R, Python, Scala, right? In the same way, Amazon also come up with a different concept like Amazon artificial intelligence. So we'll also go through with what is there in Amazon artificial intelligence. But your focus would be more on this thing, and even when you are learning also you can pick up any one of the things. But later on, like how other people are, how in the industry these machine learning algorithms are how are getting associated with NLP and all that. To get a hands-on, I'll also give a walkthrough on NLP and then artificial intelligence, that is especially from the Amazon. So this is also in the future. There is a lot of potential for this Amazon AI. This is going to be available on Amazon Cloud, and it has the ready-made engine to do all these things. What we are internally discussing about the ML part. So overall, this will be uh, part of our curriculum from the data science point of view. And lastly, from the visualization point of view, you will have a tableau. So in some cases, people may ask for visualization or may not for visualization, but unless until you have or unless until you have a good at least one reporting or a visualization tool, you will not 100% satisfied on the data science. So that way, this is also we're going to cover on this one. And within that, what are the algorithms are going to cover here? And everything from the data science point of view, as an ML guy, whatever required, everything is going to cover. The major focus will be on the regression, classification, clustering, and also association rule mining, and some sort of algorithms on the data mining as well. Because nowadays, even most of the times from the data warehousing analytics background, even some companies are looking some sort of association rule mining also. Typically, that is from the ML, but not a 100% kind of a prediction. It is going to be the advanced analytics point of view. So, association rule mining, regression, classification, and then clustering all will be part of this one. So, this is all very high level we are going to cover. And then if anyone looking any particular stuff, maybe I can give a walkthrough. But I don't want to push lot of things in the initial days. So at least first you should be focused more on the ML as long as you want to be in the data science. So then you can slowly explore all the other stuff later on. That is the agenda of this one. Okay, so now I am going to talk about a little bit of Hadoop. So now now why we are talking about what is the correlation with the data science and the Hadoop. The demonstration itself will be discussed. So data science is nothing to do with big data or Hadoop. So data science is completely ML, machine learning part, and even to some extent artificial intelligence. All this coming or going into the data science part nowadays. But for this ML, what do we need? We need a statistical algorithm. And to apply the statistical algorithm, what do we need? We need to train up the data, and all that will be going very detailed on the ML, don't worry. And we need a data, and that data we need to train with any one of the statistical algorithms. Based on that, we are going to predict something. So if you have the smaller or average quantity of your volume, so then it is okay to process your data on a non-distributed system, and then you can have a limited data, and I want to apply some linear regression algorithm. So I can take the Excel sheet and then I can even put same algorithm on Excel sheet. I'm going to get it what I want. Or I can write some SQL, or I can do anything. But as you know that the data is going to be very much higher than the compared to the previous last 4 5 years. So and even in the ML or any algorithm you are using, if you have more kind of samples, the more kind of the data samples, the better you get a prediction. So that is the reason. Uh, if you have more amount of the volumes, then when you are processing the data on a single or non-distributed system, it is going to consume lot of memory, and you will get into lot of performance challenges. So this is the reason nowadays all the ML algorithms or programming languages which you are using earlier on a non-distributed system. So now we are trying to integrate or execute on a distributed system. So when it comes to the distributed system, the first thing, there are so many things like the file system. I'll get a single walkthrough on what is the distributed file system and all that. But the moment when we talk about the distributed system, the first thing comes into mind is Hadoop. Hadoop distributed file system, and that is open source and all that we already know it. So this is the reason now initial I am going to talk about one two classes on the Hadoop and what is it distributed file system and how Spark will work on Hadoop and all that you will be very much comfortable on that area. So now I am going to start about Hadoop. And before starting up Hadoop, and if you have any questions or anything to be specifically mentioned about this, the curriculum and coverage, okay, I'm happy to address. Maybe you can just raise your hands if you want to pinpoint or specific things. You have any questions or clarifications required here from the content point of view.
Hello.
And you can type in case if you want. If you are not able to speak, you can type as well.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, to learn this machine learning language, do we need statistical background?
See, actually speaking need, but now you cannot go and learn, right? So in the ML, when I say ML, I am going to cover all those statistical what we require. So ML is nothing but all statistical only, and those algorithms we are going to learn here. So you don't need any, you don't need to spend extra effort for that. We'll be talking about them only. But the ML is completely statistics only. Okay. Okay. So now we'll start with Hadoop. So now I'm not going bit slow because this is for many folks it might be repetition. But just to have a complete comprehensive knowledge, I'm just going a bit faster on the Hadoop side. So if you have any questions, please raise your hands. If you are new or if you are not able to follow, you can just stop me wherever you are really expecting more detailed explanation, because this objective is not to have a detail on the Hadoop side. Okay, so the moment when we talk about Hadoop, what are the different like in part of Hadoop ecosystem? What are the different technologies we have? In the day one itself, in the demo classes, we discussed about what are the technologies we have and all that. So in the Hadoop, the first thing from the storage point of view, we have a HDFS, and that is your actual distributed file system. We are going to get deeper on this one. And then we have a MR MapReduce, and in the MR, and again there are two versions, and we have MR V1, that is MapReduce old classic API, and nowadays we are talking about MR V2, that is with yarn. Okay, so the moment when we say about this MR V2, typically we are going to have a yarn architecture here. We'll discuss what is that, and what are the components we have, all that we are going to discuss now. Then for the MapReduce is a processing framework where we will be using Java and all that stuff. But to compensate writing programs in Java and all that, we have a Hive, and we can process the data by writing HiveQL. It looks very similar to SQL. But writing MapReduce programs, we need little bit of Java. And then we have a PIC, and uses PIC Latin programming language. It is also like similar to procedural language, and this is actual distributed file system, and this is data processing framework on Java, and this is data processing again with SQL, which is known as HiveQL. PIC supports PIC Latin, and then we have some other NoSQL databases like HBase, Cassandra. These are from Apache side and NoSQL. Uh, And from the other side, like MongoDB, this is also one of the NoSQL, but this is not from the Hadoop ecosystem. And we have a Scoop, which is a data ingestion. And we have Kafka Flume for the streaming purpose. Streaming also we discussed in the previous class. And and then Uzi, many more things are there. It is a scheduling. And we have Impala, also SQL based data processing. The many more things are there. And then lastly, the Spark is a engine, data processing engine, where it can process the data in memory and all that. Anyway, the Spark will have detailed sessions. Okay, but overall, if you look at these are all part of our Hadoop ecosystem. But now we are not going to talk about all of them. If you are really looking into big data, so we must have all this knowledge nowadays. But now I just need to have only in Hadoop ecosystem what is the distributed file system and a little bit of how MR architecture will be there, and that will help you to get on to immediately on this path, because our focus will be more on this path side. And to get a real benefit of this path, if you have a pain points or if you have a knowledge of these two, so then you can get into Spark very easily. Okay, so now we'll talk about HDFS here. So first, the first thing we need to understand, which is HDFS. When we talk about HDFS, the name itself, it is a Hadoop distributed. It is just simply Hadoop is a name and distributed file system. So why it is very powerful? Why we are talking about distributed file system only, and within that distributed file system, why we are only talking about Hadoop? So that we'll understand now. So mostly when you look at always when you are talking about any system or a server, so there are two things. One is storage and processing. When you take any server, there are only two things. One is the storage and then processing. Storage means we need to accommodate space to store some data, and processing means once you have the data, we need to process it. So you spend, if you take any server or any software or you take anything, and ultimately our objective is only to store and process. Maybe people who are from the analytics background, they need to visualize. So these are the major the fundamentals in the data processing side. Say for example, now if I want to store some data, I can use any of the hardware or I can buy any server. Will not have any challenges typically in terms of the data storage point of view. I can buy some hardware and then I can start storing the data. But the only problem comes when it comes to the data processing. Like in case, let's say for example, I have some 200 TB of the data. If I want to store it, I can just go and buy some hard disk, or I can buy so many number of servers and then I can place it. Absolutely, I don't have any problem. The only challenge comes when the data processing. Let's say now I have stored the data, but I need to process it. And in the industry, we have challenges related to processing, but we don't have any challenges related to storage. And if you have money, and then you can buy to what extent you want to buy your hardware, storage capacity, media, you can just simply buy it and then process, store the data. The only challenge comes when it comes to the processing. Storage means, for example, in a simple way, I have like a family, and then I have like 10 members, and then everybody having 20 pairs of the clothes. Storage means I just want to preserve whatever pair of dresses every individual we have in a house. I have a house, and then the total 10 members and everybody having 20 pairs of the dresses. So now I want to just preserve them. That is the storage. So I can go and buy one almara shelf rack, and then I can just take all of them, and then simply I want to put it into almara. So it is very easy to store them because you pick up all your, let's say we have 10 people, 20 pairs, and then total 200 the dresses. So I can just take 200 dresses and then simply throw it into almara and then lock it, and your dresses are in safe hand. And even if you want to store some more, you can buy one more rack and then just throw it and then lock it. You're done. So I don't have any complaints over there. But you bought the 200 dresses, but what is the purpose of that? So you need to simply daily you have to wear it. So now you stored all your items or like dresses in a shelf, and then now let's say you are looking for one particular dress today, white color dress. So you opened a lock and then you are searching for white color. So luckily your white color dress is on top of everything, so then you can pick it up. But unfortunately that is somewhere else. In order to search your white color dress, you have to dig out all the dresses and then you need to keep searching where is your white color. So lucky is like maybe that is a 1% or 2% and you can get it. But in case you are really not properly shaped up your data, or if you have so many number of dresses in your shelf, you are looking for a particular dress, you need to spend a lot of amount of the time to search where is your white color dress. Even though there may be so many white color dress, but the size which you are looking, the brand you are looking, maybe you need to keep scanning your shelf. So that may take a lot of time. So yeah, if you understand technically, the storage means you are just dumping your items there. You will not have any pain point. Processing means when you are looking, when you are searching a particular white dress, color of dress or whatever it is, so that comes into the processing. So you will see a real pain only when you are processing or searching your dress here. But you will not have any pain when you are storing the data. Only thing is, as long as you have a place and then money to buy it, and then that's all done. But processing, even if you have a money, even if you have so many things, but when I'm really searching for a particular dress, it definitely takes time. So that is a bigger difference on the storage and then processing here. So here also in industry, when you buy anything, if I want to storage, if you look at the storage point of view, what is the media generally we store? When you take a server, okay, you will have two types of memory. One is your permanent memory, and then you have a temporary memory. Your permanent memory is your disk, whatever like pen drive, hard disk or external disk, whatever you are talking, and then your temp memory is your RAM actually. So for the data processing, we need temporary memory. For storage point of view, we need a permanent memory. So now let's talk about the storage only, and then we'll go to the processing side. So for the storage, generally we need temporary, permanent memory, and then for processing we need temporary memory. If you keep some amount of the data in your system, and let's say for example you have a Word document, you save it. So when you save it, it is going to be permanently saved on your hard disk. But when you are trying to open your Word document, the complete the data whatever is there in the Word document has to be scanned from your hard disk and then has to get into your RAM memory. And if your RAM memory is not enough capable to store all your Word document, then your system will become slow. And if you have applications, more applications open in your system, and if your RAM is not capable to hold all of them, then your system will become slow. So why this will become slow? And you are planning to open, but you don't have a sufficient memory in the RAM. So in that case, it will not warn you, but still it will try to obey your request by utilizing permanent memory. So whatever excess memory it is required, it is going to use on a permanent storage. Generally, that is called paging. So as you have more paging, and your processing will be slowed down slowly. So here, why we are talking about all these things? To understand the distributed file system. So when it comes to the permanent memory, that is generally meant for storage. Say for example, now I am just going very low level. So now I bought a pen drive, or I have a system with like 100 MB. I have a system, and then I bought a system or a laptop, but my hard disk capacity is only 100 MB. And if I want to store 101 MB of the data, I cannot store it. So I have somebody gave me a movie, and that is having like a 100 MB or 121 MB. So, but I bought a laptop with 100 MB only. The maximum capacity of the hard disk is only 100 MB, and that if you are planning to store any information, let's say I am storing a file. The maximum amount of storage I can keep onto this hard disk is only 100. If it is beyond that, I cannot. So this is my hard disk of a laptop, and I have a file size of 121 MB. I cannot place it because it is going to exceed. And if you have a size of a smaller file, let's say for example 50 MB, you can place it. So I'll take two use cases, and now I am going to place this file into the system. So whenever you bought a hard disk, that is your hard disk, and when you buy your hard disk, that is we call it as a media. And whenever you are planning to store any information on this media, so no hardware will allow to save your data, store the data directly. And every hardware media which you bought, first of all, it should be installed with some service which is known as file system. Even if you buy a pen drive or if you buy any external drive, and that will be the hardware media. But in case you want to store any information on that media, the first thing is we should have a file system software installed on this particular machine. But generally, how do we install that file system? Whenever you pick up a hard disk and then right click and then format it, and it is going to install file system on your disk or a media. Even if you take a pen drive or any, if you buy any new laptop hard disk or your CPU hard disk, and it will not have any file system installed, so you cannot store anything. Even first of all, your system will not recognize that hard disk. This will be recognized only when there is a file system software installed. And once you have file system software installed, then only it is going to accept your storage. But what is this file system doing on this hard disk? When you install file system, it is going to divide your hard disk media into sectors, and then the binaries and a lot of, it has its own algorithm. People who are into the hardware kind of thing, they must aware all these things, but I am not going to detail on that one. But generally it is going to divide your hard disk into sectors, and then all whatever the partitions we are going to do, all that is going to happen on this hard disk when you are installing the file system. So when you take a hard disk, that is a media, and on top of media we need a file system. And when you install file system, it is going to divide your media into sectors and blocks. So when you place any file on your system on a hardware media, you have a file system, and that file system is divided your media into sectors and the blocks. And when you are installing the file system, there are different types of the file system, and very popular file system, mostly everybody is aware. FAT32. The FAT is a very old technology. FAT32 and NTFS. So these are the very popular file systems for Windows, and for Linux, ext2, ext3. So these are all for the different purpose, Unix purpose. So when you are formatting, even if I take my system, and when you take a pen drive or you take anything, and that is going to have your file system pre-installed. This is using NTFS. And if you open any Linux machine, that is going to use ext3, ext2, something like that. So mostly nowadays people will go for any one. Mostly people, this is a very reliable and in terms of the secure point of view, and this is a very common for Unix machines, Unix servers. So now this file system is going to be installed on here, and whenever you are using this file systems, and these file systems, whatever so-called file systems, when they are dividing the media into blocks, and every block size is going to be the maximum in some kilobytes. It can be like 100 kilobyte or 120 kilobyte or 60 kilobyte, depends on your file system you are chosen to install. And all these file systems, whenever you are installing, they are going to divide your blocks into some kilobytes only. But what is the significance of the block in the storage? So when I store this file onto this, the file is going to be stored on the media, and then the file is going to be divided into blocks, and all the blocks, and every block size will be in some kilobytes. So you can keep, like, as long as within the limits of the total size, you can keep any file, and it is going to be saved, and then the size when it is really dividing, placing the data, is going to divide into blocks, and then it is going to save there, and that is how you store the data in the hard disk. But now, what is the significance of the block in terms of the storage and process? Storage we know, and when you place a file, your data is divided or placed into blocks, done. But whenever you are processing the data, means scanning the data or reading, so you saved some data in a pen drive. So the pen drive has the block size of kilobytes, done. But when you are accessing the data from the pen drive or your hard disk of your system, the amount of the data at any given point of the location place, whenever it is reading the data from the disk, that is your block size. Means when somebody processing, scanning the data, the amount of the size of the volume we get from that media at any given point of location is your block size. So if you have smaller block size, and then your reading capabilities are going to be minimized, because we need to, at any time, how much amount I can get from the disk is the block size. Since you have kilobytes of the block size, the amount of volume you get at a time from that place is your kilobytes only. A simple example, I have some 100 people in one room, and then I need to throw all these 100 people into another room, and I have a person sitting over there. So at any time, his capacity is he can hold only one, he can lift only one person. So when he is trying to shift all these people to other room, he is picking up only one guy, because his capability is to lift only one guy at a time. So you need to, like, block one by one, you need to throw all the people to the other room. But if you have a person who has the ability to lift 5 people at a time, so you can just pick up 5 people at a time and then throw it. The completion, the task completion will be faster when I have a more ability to pick up the data or pick up the persons over there. So storage point of view, we don't have any complaint. If you have a 100 MB memory and then as long as within the same limit of the data I can store. But the only thing is using this file system. The file system is mandatory and all these regular file systems are going to place data only in terms of some kilobytes only. That is the point number one. Okay, still I am okay. I am not looking too much performance. Still I am okay. Fine. But now, so my disk is 100 MB, so my laptop, so somehow I filled everything. But now somebody gave me 120 MB file. Already have 50 MB, or even if I delete also, the total capacity is 100 MB only, and then but now I have only 120. I have a file, single file or some data which is of 121 MB only. But how can I cannot, definitely not going to place it. So now what I can do is I can buy one more disk. Like I have money, I can go and buy one more. Even if I have two disks here, but if I want to store 121 MB file, still it is not possible for me. So now I have 121 MB of the file, but now my disk size, individual disk size is 100 MB and this is also 100 MB. But if I still want to store the data, 100% is not possible, because I can store the data which can fit into this particular disk only, but I cannot distribute the data. Still I am stuck here. I cannot. The only one solution is that you can use any data splitting software. You make into two pieces and then you keep something here and you can keep something here. So you can manage your data storage. But at the same time, after, let's assume that this is your the marriage video, and now you have 200 MB. The total size is this. But now you split into, let's say, some 60 here, 61 60 here, you place here. So now you want to play. So again you cannot play, because the splitting softwares can help you to split your data, but if you want to play you need a complete file. It is not possible to play. Somehow you can manage to store, but you cannot still play. So if you see, if from the normal file systems point of view, if you pick up any disk, and the disk block sizes will be only in some kilobytes, and also they can support only the data volume to maximum of that capacity. And if it is beyond that, and your individual disk may not be understand other disk, and this may not be understand other disk. So this is a regular file system, normal file system. That is, when you take a file system, normal file systems, which are all these things, regular file systems. But if you take, if you go to any very top vendor who manufactures the hardwares, go to EMC Square, or even if you go to HP, Oracle, you go anywhere, even Dell also, will not find out a single hard disk which will have like 1 petabyte or 2 petabyte. Nobody in the world are manufacturing the hardware which will single disk will have a capacity of 1 petabyte or 2 petabyte. But if you still see in the organization, generally we store some petabytes, gigabytes of the data. Forget about the Hadoop and all that, but still, if you go to any bank, it is very common that we'll have 1 petabyte of the data or like 100 terabyte of the data. But we'll never get a single hard disk which will size having like 100 terabyte and all that. But how are we managing? So this is the first generation. But in the second generation, so we have a different type of file systems which are known as NFS, network file system, or storage area network. So this is the area right now we are, this is the Jamana we are right now we are in, storage area network. Which is actually SAN. So what SAN does, let's say for example, when you have two hard disks and now I am not able to communicate them. And let's say if you take any basic Oracle database of a bigger company, minimum it will have like 1 TB data or like 100 TB data. but I can store the data, I can process it. But how it is possible? And all the disk, let's say whatever number of disks you have, all the disks, local disks, generally are associated with a network hardware component which is called SAN, storage area network. So this will also have some limitations. Okay, it will have some switch ports and all that. So if you have any number of disks, okay, it is going to, like if you purchase a SAN media, and you can go and attach individual disks to this particular SAN. So in the storage area network, it is a network of storage media. So what is going to happen? Let's say 100, total 300. Your total SAN storage capacity will be 300 MB here. So you will not be like from other side. Let's say when you are installing, storing or anything from other side, you will feel SAN is your storage, and you are not going to directly talk with 3 individual disks, and you are going to talk with SAN only. So now when I talk about the total capacity of my storage, that is going to be 300 MB. Though internally you may have so many hard disks here, and I will not going to worry. And if I install Oracle database and attach to this particular SAN is my storage, and now we can go and then simply store the data. That all internally taken care by SAN only. And if you want to add some more hard disks, you can go and then keep adding them. And also SAN also has a limitation. Every SAN hardware component will have a limited ports, and to maximum this SAN will have a limitation to some particular number. So once it is filled with all the required number, then you cannot attach any external or additional hardware. So in that case, you can buy one more SAN. So that is how we generally manage data storage now. So this way, using this SAN and NFS, we can increase the storage capacities. That is how we manage the data here. But now still the problem is that though it is SAN, but underlying every hard disk whatever you have, still they are still with NFS, NTFS or ext3 only. So this is only the storage area network, but still the underlying hard disk what we have, still they are with normal file systems only. And the group of all these file system is going to be the SAN, or network of all of them is going to be the SAN. I am not going to talk about the internal hardware architecture. The way how I can easily explain you about the SAN, I am just using a very high level words here, because we are not here into getting into the SAN here. Okay, so now what way? So one benefit I got is I am able to increase my storage capacity here. But now when you are storing the data, still it is going to store the data in kilobytes of block size. Still your block size is kilobytes only, because we are not gone away with this particular backend block size increase. Storage capacity has been increased, but the block size is still kilobytes only. And I can store more amount of the data, but when it comes to the processing, still have the similar the limitation which we had earlier, because at any time I can get only that block size. So this is the reason. The first generation is a normal file system. So the second generation is NFS, SAN, and this is how we now right now here. And then third generation is, now we know the problem here is that we are able to read the data like this, and all that is going to be the problem in terms of the blocks and all that. So now the current generation is distributed file system. So this is the storage area network. So in the distributed file system, the name itself, we are going to store whatever data we are going to store. We are going to distribute the data into different medias, whatever we have here. So in the distributed file system, typically popularly known as DFS. What is the popular distributed file system? The DFS is a concept. There are even apart from Hadoop, there are other vendors also who support distributed file system. But Hadoop is very popular because it has its own different kind of fundamentals whenever it is processing the data. So that is the reason the DFS is a concept, is a distributed file system, and the distributed file system which we are going to talk about is Hadoop distributed file system. It has its own kind of merits when it is processing the data. So the regular file system, and then we have a network file system, and then this is your Hadoop distributed file system. And what this Hadoop distributed file system is doing, the first thing is, say for example, now have the 3 servers here. So I bought 3 systems here, and everybody having 3 disks here, 100, 100, 100. So previously, only we are just consolidating the hardware part of this using the SAN, and then storage we are able to get. But when it comes to the HDFS, what are the fundamentals of HDFS is, say for example, now have 4 servers here, and 4 servers will have their own RAM, and also they will have their own hard disk. Whenever you install Hadoop software on these machines, the first thing what it is going to have is, say this is my machine, and it has a local file system, and a local file system, and then currently it is using Unix operating system. First of all, originally they are normal servers, they have the normal regular file system, and they are all running with example lines. So whenever you install Hadoop software, first thing it is going to install one service, that is nothing but your HDFS. It is going to install one service on all the systems, or how many number of systems you have chosen, that is your HDFS. It is one type of file system. And point to be noted, this file system will not be directly installed on it. If you get a pen drive, if you buy one new hardware, I cannot install HDFS directly on the media. First of all, it should have your local file system. It should be formatted and all that. Then on top of that, your HDFS will be installed. If you buy one new like a laptop, and then if you want to install HDFS directly without your operating system, then it is not possible. First of all, you should have your local stuff, and then only you can have your HDFS file system sitting on top of that. So what is the quality of the HDFS file system is distributed. Okay. So now in this case, have a size of have a file here, and this file size is right now having, let's say, 200 MB. So whenever you place a file on your HDFS file system, so we'll be learning how to place it. There will be different commands to place it. So these are the local or individual system, and whenever you place any file system, file on a HDFS file system, first thing what it is going to do is, it is going to divide your input information into equal size of blocks, okay, into around 128 MB or 64 MB. If you give any file, whenever you are planning to store the data, and this data is going to be divided into equal size of blocks, which is 128 MB or 64 MB, that is a optional configurable. So assume that right now, okay, we are chosen configured HDFS to divide the data into each block size of 128 MB. Means when I place, or when I am planning to store a single file, and this is going to divide into each size of 128. So now I have 200 MB, but one file I am placing with one block now created with 128 MB, and the rest other will be 72. So now HDFS, whenever you are planning to store the data, it is going to store the data in terms of block size of 128. But when you look at a normal file system, these file systems were storing data only in terms of block size of only some kilobytes. But what is the significance of the block? At any time, how much data you can read, scan from the hard disk. So, since your HDFS is going to store data in terms of the large block sizes, that is 128 MB. So, at any time, how much data you can read, that is also 128 MB. So, here if you compare from normal to here, almost it is some kilobytes and almost it is some MBs of 128. You can see, we compare how much big difference it is there. So that way your HDFS data processing is scanning will be very faster from your disk. That is the first point, number one. Then whatever blocks you divided with the equal size of 128, these blocks are not going to be saved on a single machine. Say for example, right now I have 100 MB, definitely I cannot place any data over there. Okay, so I'm just previously I've taken 100 MB. Let's take up 500 MB. 100 MB is not a realistic actually, but just to explain you, I've taken there. So assume that we have 500 MB size of hard disk here or something. So now I have a 200 MB file. So now HDFS will divide your file into two blocks, and that will be 128 one block or 72 is another block. Here have a possibility that I can store this and these two blocks in a single machine, because I have a capacity of 500 MB here. So the total size will be like 500 into 4, okay, 2 GB. The total size, because anyway we work together. And when we are placing the data, point number one is going to divide the data into blocks, which are known as chunks or also splits, equal size of 128. But still I have a possibility to store these two blocks into two separate systems, or the single machine itself, because I have total capacity of 500 MB. But being this HDFS is a distributed file system, it is not going to do this. The name itself distributed means you distribute your data into different disks or nodes here. So from the technical angle, this is one machine, I'll call it as a node 1. This is another machine node 2. This is another machine node 3. And this is another machine node 4. And every node has its own storage capacity, 500, 500, 500. And the total size is 2 GB fine. But now when you have a file, it is going to divide into blocks 128. But now here it is 72 because we don't have another additional data for 128. If it is a normal file system, everything will be on a single machine. But here it is distributed. So every block will be placed into another block, another node, not onto the single node. So that is the distributed. If you have a file having 4 blocks, then the 4 blocks will be divided into different nodes here. So that is your distributed. In other machines, if you have a capacity of 500 MB here, the 2 blocks will be here only. But in the distributed, the blocks are going to be divided into different nodes and different disks here. So that way your file will be single only, but internally it will divide into blocks and blocks are going to be distributed. That is your distributed file system. So that way you can store any number of volumes here. And also one more advantage is that, especially in Hadoop distributed file system, so now when I buy a SAN, and this SAN storage media is manufactured by Dell, example, or EMC. So when you are buying a new disk, and the disk should also be the manufacturer of your Dell only. So I cannot go and keep any other disk over here. But when it comes to HDFS, so now all these 1, 2, 3, 4 disks are nodes or systems of Dell, and now HP offering me very cheap now, and whenever you want to add, you can also go and add any type of hardware. Generally that is known as commodity hardware. So if you look at HDFS feature, first is the block sizes 128 or 64 MB, distributed, and supports commodity hardware. Supports infinite. So here it is only a software component. If you want to add some additional load, you just need to add software only. That's the reason it can go to any number. But when it comes to here, we have a limited. It is a storage media, and once it is saturated, I need to buy one more. But here you don't have commodity. You can buy any cheap hardware, and then it is going to support X infinite number. There is no limitation for us because it is just only a software. We need to just keep installing that software. That way, Hadoop is going to store any X number of volumes and any type of hardware. You can just go and buy any cheap hardware available in the market. You can just simply attach it. It can be a Dell, it can be HP, it can be EMC, it can be something else also. Still it works. Okay, fine. So this is all from this. How it is different from the storage? You can have some data, you can store it. Now, fine. I stored the data. Somebody gave me a file. I stored it. It is there. But now I want to read the data. So when you are reading the data, so HDFS will have its own mechanism that this file that will talk tomorrow. So when you have this file, in how many nodes, how many blocks, where are them, all that information will be there. That will talk how it is arranged internally. But now I am accessing the data and then it is playing something. But suddenly what happened? This node failed because there is a power failure or there is a disk crash or something happened, and suddenly this node has been failed. Since this node has been failed, but your 72 MB of the data is in the node or this disk, but suddenly this is failed. But when you are accessing your file, then you will be stuck here because your off portion of the data is not available with you. It is like you are completely, your file is not available for you. So this is very challenging over here because whenever in the production systems, when you are accessing some data, storage is okay, but at the same time when you have some data, it should be available as and when you need it. To say that okay, it is not available, then it is no use of storing the data. So to compensate this, what Hadoop will do, every block whichever you are storing in one node, for every block it is going to replicate into another block. So this is the replication for your first block. And this is also is going to be the replication. Means the another feature of HDFS is replication. Means when you are accessing the data, if suddenly one particular node is down, so immediately it will try to go and search for the replicated block, and then immediately it will start fetching data from the other block. So that way your data is always available. High availability is getting provided through the replication of your blocks. So that is another one of the fantastic feature of the HDFS. So though when since you are doing the replication, it is going to occupy little bit of more space. But at the same time, in the industry, always data availability is important than the storage. So maybe nowadays hardware has become very cheaper. Like if you want to buy XYZ hardware is very cheap. But as long as you have the data, if it is not accessible, it is like as good as you don't have the data access. That is the reason people will take uh, the risk of having more money spending for storage, but at the same time data availability is very important. So that is the reason we don't care about the replication size, though it is repeating or redundant over here. Okay. So now the question will be here, how many replications? So Hadoop HDFS has something called a rack aware replication. And by default it recommends 3 levels of replication. So why it is, what is rack aware and then why it is the only means? If you look at any hardware like the data servers, generally, say for example, I have a machine. When you buy a server, your servers will be like this. So this is your let's say node one. When you buy a server, the concept of the servers will be like this. Like this you can have. So all the nodes, group of nodes is called cluster. So these clusters will be tightly coupled, and mostly when I say cluster, generally I will keep a single SAN for this cluster, or all these clusters will share this hardware, like even sometimes they have a single motherboard and then a processor associated, or even sometimes they have a different motherboard, but all these are completely sitting on a single interface card, and that way they are just almost a single family. Like sometimes we'll have in single family where in every room we'll have a different people staying. In such that is the best example for this. Like this, in one server, the group of cluster is actually your rack. There is the cluster one and then there is the cluster two. So this is your neighbor apartment. This is a single apartment, two families staying. And this is another apartment, another flat, but it's the same apartment. And this is your rack. So this rack will have a single power unit and then cooling unit and then everything. So you see a hardware machine. See, everything is one rack. Whatever the big box is showing here, if you look at this is a rack, 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 rack. If you look at this is all a single rack, and within the single rack, this is all your storage, SAN storage, and these are all, everyone will have individual processors, and they will logically they will, this is one cluster, this is one cluster, such kind of this is the station. Okay, see, this is all a single rack from here to here, and this is one cluster, and this is one cluster, this will be the storage. So like this group of rack is called data center. So why we are talking about here is that the rack aware replication means, so one node, node 1, node 3, node 4, and then similarly we'll have another clusters on the other rack also. Maybe here we'll have a node 5 and node 6. So when we are creating the replication, say for example, now I have two blocks here. So I kept one here. Yes, assume that I have one more node also in the rack, just to make it. So we have total 3 nodes here and 2 blocks are. First, whenever it is creating a replication, for every block, it will try to create first set of replication on the same cluster of different nodes. Say, if I have 2 nodes only here, then it will try to put this replication in another node. It will confuse you, that is the reason I am keeping here. The first replication will be on the same cluster different node. Why it is only here first is, the reason is, so suddenly this particular cluster, when I am processing the data, so this node is down. This node is okay running, but this node is down. But immediately if I want to get my data, I can go to immediately my next room. That is the best way I can quickly pick it up. So if my block replication is available in the next door, so I can easily get that information. That is the reason first replication is here. Fine. So now I am accessing the data, but what happened? The entire cluster is down, and the 128 and 72 both are gone. Or this also is down. Say for example, the cluster is down, so you are completely stuck. So that is the reason. As a second level of replication, it is going to keep the different node of different cluster on the same rack. Rack is same, but it is going to keep the replication, because even if your entire cluster is down, it is going to get your access your data from a different cluster of the same rack, because they are all the same apartment. What if the entire rack is down? Means your power supply is gone for this particular rack. Means you are completely gone. So that is the reason, still to accommodate, it will keep another replication on a different node of different rack. So even it is down also. And if you ask me, like even the complete data center is down, then even if you have a different data center in a different geographical location, that will be the fourth replication. And across the data center replications to do, the Cassandra is a powerful NoSQL database which is very much designed for data replication across different data centers. The data center typically will have one for geography, say for example, and if I am running a page on Google will have a data center, one in the US, one is Asia, one is in European region. So it depends on your nearest geographical domain, you will get the data from there. So that way, to make everything is available always, HDFS will follow. It is distributed, but what is extra in Hadoop is the block size is higher, and the remaining all the replication are going to be there. But every distributed file system will do the same thing. But what extra we have in HDFS is the block size is higher, supports commodity hardware, and also replication is supported so that your data is always available. So this is the actual concept of the distributed file system, and especially Hadoop distributed file system. So this is how it will manage the data. So in tomorrow's session, we'll see how we process the data. Typically, what is the framework to process a little bit of knowledge of MapReduce. What is yarn architecture, what is classical architecture, and how it works, and then we'll take some couple of commands of the HDFS commands, and that will finish basic of your Hadoop. Okay, so this is what for today. If you have any specific questions, please let me know, and maybe the same time 8 o'clock we'll meet tomorrow and then continue the other framework part.